All right. We're recording and official now. So
Oh my goodness.
I do have an announcement from Lynn. She wants everybody to know that the next outing is July 30th at the James Museum at 10 a.m. She says we got a great deal on it, and she's going to send out additional information later. The first week of July is when she's going to send out additional information, but you can put it on your calendar, July 30th, 10 a.m., James Museum.
July 30th. Okay.
That's the only announcement she wanted me to pass on. Does anybody else have any other announcements we need to make?
No.
Okay, good. Well, we've got an assignment coming up for window light portraiture, specifically black and white window light portraiture. But we've got a presentation tonight, technical presentation with some helpful information for window light portraiture. Since we're doing this on Zoom, it was actually recorded about 2-3 weeks ago. Robert, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Went to Robert's studio, had a couple models. Robert set up a great big window in there, which is pretty magical because the studio has no windows, but we made a window. and you're going to get to see the video. It was about an hour and a half worth of time there put into it, but I've condensed it into actual 28 minutes of the actual instructional part of it. And so you got a 28-minute video that's going to happen. And when you watch it, what's interesting is it was all done in one take. There was no retakes, no going back, no redoing everything. Everything you see is one take. I ran 4 cameras for about an hour and a half, switching on and off and back and forth between the various cameras, and then edited it all down to the 28-minute video that you're going to see now. So I'm going to play it directly out of my computer. So we tested this after the last board meeting, and it all seemed to work good with video and audio to do this. So we're going to go ahead and do it now, and then once it's over, we'll go ahead and give people a little break, and then we'll come back and we'll have Q&A and take care of the rest of the meeting with answering questions and helping out with the topic. Anybody have any questions before we play the video?
Yes, I do. I'm confused because I thought Robert no longer had a studio.
That was my question.
Robert still has a studio. Yes, there's been some changes. I've actually gotten 3 more new students. So if you guys can get me 2 more, then I'll keep the studio open.
So it's the same studio that we all know and love.
Oh, I love the fact you said the word love. Yes.
So yeah, so you can reminisce while you watch the video. Because nothing has changed at the studio, as you'll see. It's still the same. All right. If we're good, I'm going to go in here and find there's a Zoom did some upgrades, so they have advanced options now for playing video. So I got to get into that screen. Give me a minute. Give me just a minute. I gotta locate the actual video file. Stand by. Well, talk amongst yourselves for a minute.
I've got a question for the group. If we're talking amongst ourselves, my father wants to get one of those cameras that helps him see birds and then takes pictures of them, like binoculars. If anyone's got any suggestions about places I should or types I should ask him about or look into for him, please let me know.
I don't understand. That's only because I heard only part of it.
There are companies that sell binoculars that allow you to take digital pictures of birds so that you can like put them in programs that identify birds for you. It's like a birding thing for people that are looking for that. It's not really like camera photography thing. It's like adjacent to camera photography. So I was curious if anyone had ever run into that because he sent me some links and they all look kind of cheap and shitty. And I wanted to see if anybody knew anything about them in this group.
Tom, this is a highly advanced group. You can't say the word shitty in this group.
C'est un peu merde.
Yeah, but you can't say shitty.
Okay.
You better be able to. That's almost the only word I use.
Tom, I had one of those binoculars that I tried out for a period of time, but the resolution of the pictures is so poor that I returned it. I had no use for it. The binocular wasn't that great, and the pictures were worse. But that's my
Still able to identify 'em?
limited experience.
Could it still identify the bird?
Barely. I mean, the quality was so bad. You can, by the time you blow the picture up to any decent size of 5x7, it's so bad. A simple point and shoot camera did a better job.
Well, Tom, is your dad just wanting to identify him, or does he want really like good pictures, like photographs?
I'm taking him to Alaska. He's not looking for high quality pictures. I think he's just looking for something to do while we hike around Alaska a little bit. I told him they'd probably all be shitty too, but he still wants it. So I think Jack's advice is spot on, but he's my dad. He's going to do whatever he wants. I'm just trying to point him away from like something.
Most dads do. Most dads do if mom lets them.
It's part of the dad.
Okay, everybody.
Okay.
I since the time I set this up and tested it, I had a hard drive die and had to order in a recovery drive, and a whole bunch of files got shifted around doing some file maintenance with recovering that drive. So I had to locate where the file moved to. So we've got it now. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
We are ready.
You guys should be seeing and hearing things now.
Yeah, we are.
I'm seeing my model.
Bathroom door.
Let's find out who these people are. Tell me your name and why are you here?
My name is Lindsay, and I am here as a model. I heard about this at another photo shoot I did with Robert, and I'm really excited.
And I am Coral. I'm also here as a model and heard about this at a beach photo shoot that I recently did with Robert.
And the thing about it is that you guys don't even know what you're going to be doing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And because you don't know what you're doing and you heard about this and you ended up in the studio, are you ready for some interesting ideas about modeling?
Yes, I'm excited.
Well, the truth is that this is only something for a camera club. That's all it is. It's a video for camera club. And what we're going to do here is we're going to show in this about how to light through windows.
Oh, fun.
So that's all we're doing. And the techniques and of how to do this so that you can make simple lighting fun. That's pretty much all we're going to do. And from that point, we're going to do some changes in the outfits. We're going to do some different setups, some backlighting, some front lighting, and some side lighting. And we're going to do each individually, and then we're going to do some together. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds
All right.
fun.
Well, we're going to start off with Lindsay, and then I'm going to be photographing side light. And Corey, you're going to be standing by until it's time to get up here.
Sounds good.
All right.
I'll get out of the way.
And in the background, you're going to hear some voices. And those voices are going to come from Lynn. Yes, our own Lynn. So Lynn will be here in the background. You'll hear from her. If you're in any window, it's showing you how to place your talent person, anybody, in a window area so that you can get the best light, the best shot, the best look. Window light is a very, very easy light to do. So I want to show you a couple of things about where to place your talent when you're, or your person that you're doing a portrait with, when you're doing window lighting. I want you to take a look at the light that's hitting Lindsay right here. Lindsay, take a step back. And look at how the light wraps around. Take a step forward. And how the light gets a little dark and a little more contrasty. But as you take a step forward, turn your head toward the light a little bit. Turn it more. That's good. Stay right there. And you see how that light wraps around? It's a really nice look. Now look back at the camera. Good. Now, one of the problems that we have when you look back at the camera, the light gets a little dark. And when it gets a little dark, one of the things that you want to do is you want to be able to fill that light. And if I put some sort of a bounce card, watch how it fills in. If I take that card away, look at how it goes away. Again, filling it in. Can you see a difference? Hopefully you can. And then taking it away. So I want you to have, when you're photographing this sort of thing, have some sort of bounce card available when you're doing that. I think I have a silver card here somewhere. Let me see if I can get that silver card so that you can see how much light is actually, you can bounce in with some sort of silver. Now that first one was a white card, which created a little contrast, but look at what happens when I do a silver card.
Robert, would one of those tri-color things that you get that you untwist?
Oh yeah, those 5-in-1s.
5-in-1s?
5-in-1s really, they work really well on that. Now, Lindsay has a very it's not very, but it's an elongated face. And I want you to step out just a little bit, Lindsay. Cora, come in here. Cora has somewhat of a more rounded face.
Yes,
and,
I do.
And step right over here in the light. And turn slightly toward the light for me for just a second here. And you'll see that when you turn toward the light, it can either slim down the face or show the full face if you turn more to the right. Yes. Now, if I fill it in, again, with the fill card, you can fill that light in and make it look really, really pleasing no matter which way you turn it. So it doesn't matter the shape of the face or the shape of the eyes. The idea from all of this is to actually get a good photograph no matter what you do. Now, what happens when we have two people in there? Take a step in. All right, now you're going to have what's called light fall off. And we're going to be demonstrating this with some shots coming up here soon. You have light fall off. Now, Lindsay, take one step forward. And you have Coral turned into the light just a little bit. Whenever you have that, you see that one of the persons that you have it's going to be in dark shadow. So to remedy that, what I want you to do, Lindsay, is take a step back slightly behind Coral. Right there. Good. Now cheat your face forward. Good. And both of you turn toward the light. Great. Now when I add the light into it, look at what happens. Huge difference. All right, we're going to be seeing all this as we shoot, and I just wanted to know the setup between this and give me a second, and we'll come back and do some shooting. Right now with this light that we have, I'm running an exposure of f4.5 at 1/160th of a second, ISO 1000, and you might say that that's a little bright. I mean, the ISO is a little high, or the ISO is a little high. But in this case, it's artificial light that we're putting in, and your numbers are going to vary when you get to shoot with natural light. So let's take a look at what we're going to get here. Now, Lindsay, I want you to turn your head just slightly toward the light. Good. Great. That's good. Good. And I want you to take your one arm and put it out like so. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Just put it out there. Get a little shoulder action there. Good. Good. Look toward the light again. Towards your right. Great. Great. Look down.
So remember, folks, the light is important, but also the pose.
And look toward me. Eyes toward me. Just keep the head down, and then eyes toward me. Good. Bring them around just slightly more. Head back. That's great. Great. Absolutely. Head up just slightly. Good. I want you to work with your arms left, right, back and forth. Just wrap your arms around like so. And each time I fire, I want you to give me some sort of shoulder action, but keep your eyes toward this light. Okay? All right, great. And eyes toward the light, head slightly toward me. Eyes toward me. And then tilt. That's perfect. Perfect. Good. Very nice. I think I am shooting at a I'm doing 35 millimeter. I'm going to go up to 50 millimeter right now. About 70. Yes. And I want you to take one step back. Take one step back. Perfect, 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 perfect. It's even better. Now the light looks really, really good. Turn your head slightly into the light. There you go. Now the reason why I had to turn her head into the light, Lindsay, just turn back to your left. Now turn your eye. If you notice in her eyes, the eyes got dark on the camera right side. So what I'm looking for is to make sure that there's some light in that eye on the camera right. So turn your head slightly back towards your right. I mean, what is that? Back towards your right, and chin up just slightly. Great, great. Now we have some light in that eye, and I love it. Give me a little bit of attitude in there, and you can work with the arms. You don't have to stay in that one pose. Right, nice, absolutely nice. Look into the light, and then bring the eyes back to me. Chin down. Eyes back to me. Good, good. Hand up just slightly. Good. Now tilt the head inward like so. Great. Great. Good. Good. And so we're going to take a look at what we just examined here. And that was that we pulled her forward, and we got a lot of light into the side of her face, but we were missing light on the camera right side of her face. So we pushed her back just slightly and then turned her head into the light, and then we got a fill on both sides. So is that making sense? Hopefully it is. All right, good. Step out for just a second.
I have one little quick comment here. A longer lens will make the face look less rounded and full.
Oh, absolutely. I switched from a 35 to a 75 millimeter, and I got a much different look in it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do the same thing with Cora here, and Cora, I want a lot of that hip action and turn inward.
Okay.
All right, great. So let's see what we have here on our first deal. I got to focus there, and let's see what we have. ISO 1000 at 4.5 at shutter speed of 1/160. That's what we're dealing with right now, and it's looking pretty good. And hopefully you'll see these images at the end, and you should. I'm right up against this curtain here. Bang. All right, each time just give me a little bit of change there. Slight change. Great. Okay. All right. I have to stop right there because I just ran out of space on this card. Great. Wonderful. And this is how we get that double portrait action going on here. Now, one of the things I do want to point out here is that when you have your subjects like so, and you're shooting at a very shallow depth of field, you want to have your subjects on the same plane going across. So if one is in front of the other or behind the other, you're going to get soft focus on one or the other. So the idea is to have them both on the same plane. So, Lindsay, move your head back just slightly. That's perfect. Now you're both on the same plane. Wonderful. And now I have you both on the same plane, and that means I'm going to get a great focus on you. I'm going to actually use the curtains in order to give me a little bit of nice soft look. Now, if you look at Lindsay's the one on camera right, how her face is turned directly into the light, and Coral right there is getting the side light. All right, Lindsay, give us a little bit of attitude with your right arm. Meaning, there we go. There you go. Nice, nice. Or lean over to that side just a little bit. Great, 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 great. A couple shots. So that's great. What I want you to do with that. So I think that completes our side light, and we're going to go now into an actual backlighting. Try to figure out what my exposure is going to be. And right now, if I shoot what I'm seeing, this particular exposure, well, let's see what it looks like on the first one. I'll enlarge that. My exposure is still the same, which is going to be 4.5 at 1/160. But what I think I want to do is, according to what I'm seeing on the back of my screen, is I think I need to be a little bit darker, actually. So I'm gonna yes, in order to create the silhouette, that's correct. So I'm going to actually, Lindsay, take a step forward toward me. Great, great, absolutely. And then I'm gonna go to, if I can know, absolutely. Now, what I'm looking for right now is body line. So, you know, the jacket is actually too bulky. I'm gonna have you take the jacket off. It is that, oh, much better line. Much better line. I like that so much better. Okay, Lindsay, let me get one more test shot here. Put your arms up. Great. And let's see what that looks like. That's looking pretty good and a lot better on the line, on the line here. So let's start with that. Let's work around that one. Let's see what we get. Good. As you hear the camera roll, I want you to give me some movement. In fact, what you're doing right now, straight up and straight down, give me some line movements.
How far down are you shooting?
I'm shooting right down to your, yeah, that's about far. As far down as I'm going. Okay. And here we go. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Now I do have one problem though, and I'm gonna need to deal with it. Jim, keep recording because I have a light there that's got that. No, you're good.
Okay.
It's on your part. You're good. But there is an LED light that's got a very hard light coming down. It's causing a little bit of flare. So let me take care of that in just a second, okay? All right. Let's see your movements again. And again, give me the S line in your body. Great, great, great. A little more mood in your top arm, which means give me lean. Absolutely. Nice, nice. Pull back. That's great, 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 great. To go back to where you were, and the hand. You had the hand up on top, just a little bit there. And let's pull the hair back on this side, just a tiny bit.
Towards the front?
Now let's pull. Cora, come here for just a second.
Okay.
All right, just want you to pull the hair back on this side over here, like so. Great. Great, 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 great. Now turn to the side. It's wonderful. Now I'm getting it. Yes, yes. Now.
Bend your right arm, Lindsay, a little bit. Here you go.
That's it. Nice, nice, nice.
Now you got a total S.
Nice, nice, nice. Now just do the opposite side. Same thing, the opposite side. Nice, nice. And
give me a lot of attitude with that. A lot of it. Nice. Absolutely. All right, I want you to turn completely around and bring your head to your left. And now I want you to turn, yeah, absolutely. Cora, come in here for just a second.
Okay.
I want you to take a look at the hair that we're seeing right now. I want you to pull that hair back over her shoulder for me. Great, it's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. There we go, nice. And we'll get a couple shots that way. Give me some arm action and on your left arm. Yeah, absolutely. Hands on your hips on that one. Great. Lean your head. Oh, that's nice. You did it. You did exactly what I was about to ask you to do. Wonderful. Nice. Okay, great. And have you step out and have course step in. Yes, absolutely.
Like this?
Yes.
Okay.
Same exact thing. Work around that look.
I gotta flip my hair now.
Yes.
Please up again.
Maybe.
Wonderful. All right, let's get a little bit of action right here. Great. Be very aware. There it is, that back hand. That's perfect. Work the face around, up and down. Great. Wonderful. All right, so one of the things that you have to do when we talk about a silhouette is the exposure of the background or the brightness of the light from the background is far greater than the light that's coming on your subject. So I expose actually for the white curtains, and when I exposed for the white curtains, that brought a value down that brought the curtains down to a grayish value, and then it also brought the subject's value down to even about 2.5 stops less than that. So they are going to go dark according to the way that you expose for the brighter portion and not necessarily for the subject itself. And that's what's going to give you your silhouette.
So are you exposing so that the curtains turn gray according to your meter, or are you doing it so that your curtains turn white and your subject goes black?
I actually want my curtains to, in a sense, be white, but I'm exposing until they actually come down to a gray. And when I do that gray, my subject is going to go even darker than that. But I generally, when I do it, I expose for the grayness of it, and in post I pull it back up, but to ensure that my subject goes dark. But the value of it has to be that the background is about 2 stops brighter than your actual subject. So the exposure is actually going to be for the background and not for the subject.
What metering mode do you use in the camera? Spot metering, center weighted, matrix, evaluative?
I use evaluative,
averaging?
And I don't necessarily change my metering.
Okay.
I just simply take a meter for the light value back there, and then I turn around and take a meter reading for the subject right here, and then if that value is 2 stops less, then I'm in a good state. So that's how I do it. Now, one of the things you can do when you have this silhouette deal is you can actually make this into a nice glowing portrait, and one of the ways you can do that is by adding a fill light to this, or a fill card. And we're going to add a fill card, and we're going to make our exposure not for the background that, as we did before, but we're going to make it for the foreground, which is going to blow out the background. So I'm going to stick a fill leaf flat in there. Len, can you help me with that?
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. Let me turn this on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit that, please.
Yes, and we're going to open this up and put this right behind me. And we're going to bring that in real tight.
I mean, mine is if you want to match.
Yeah.
And now
Way
we've
more
opened up and the background. The light is actually coming through and it's bouncing back into our subject. So I'm gonna adjust my exposure now. I'm gonna open up two values to overexpose it. And let's see what kind of value that's gonna give us. And hold on just 1 second. Let me get my values up. So I'll need my ISO change, and I'm gonna take my ISO up to 3200. And what that's gonna do is gonna give a really nice, beautiful backlight and glow. All right, let me get a one focus change here, and good. Now I want you both to just turn into shoulder to shoulder. Yeah, shoulder to shoulder, that's great. And all you're doing now is working your head back and forth. All right, good. Every fire. Now this part right here, you have to worry about a little bit of flare that's happening. Lindsay, give me a little bit of hands on the. There you go. No, I do not want that to happen. The thing went to format. I go like, no. Coral, same thing. Little hand on. That's great. Give a little bit of attitude. And I'm getting a little bit of flare back from this. Let me check just to make sure. Yes. Okay. It's good.
How do you think about this?
Oh, it's wonderful. Both of you take a step that way. One step. And look toward each other. Good. Coral. That's great. Lindsay, slightly toward me. There, that's great. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. There we go. Now we have it. Absolutely. Great, guys. All right. That's what I wanted to show you. What you can do, even if you're backlit, you can actually fill it in with a V card or some sort of silver reflector and allow the light to go back into your subject and allow for the glow to actually happen. So you're shooting for flare.
What about face to face? When you've got two silhouettes and you get, how can you do that with this setup and get, just like a ridge of light?
You can down the silhouette side, but right now with the exposure, in fact, turn face to face, with the exposure that we're doing right now, it's actually a glowing exposure. So each of you turn your back, shoulder, and toward me. That's great. Great. We get a focus mark at this point, and got a focus mark. And then both of you now slightly turn toward me. Both turn toward me. That's great. So what Lynn was asking about was more of a silhouette type of deal. But right now what we're doing is to open up that value so that it's no longer a silhouette. It is an actual look of beauty. So turn back in toward each other just for a second there, and that's what we're talking about. That light is wrapping around more so than it was in a silhouette form. So there you have it. All right.
We're like trying to keep a straight face staring at each other.
I don't even stare at my husband that deeply in his eyes, like.
What's about to happen is I've placed the two talent against the backdrop on the opposite side of the light, the window light, and which makes a really good source of light. The reason why is because you have a large source. The larger the source, the softer the light and the softer the wraparound. So in this, we're taking this large light source right here, and it's going to wrap around me and go to my subject. And in the subject's eyes, this is where you'll see a large, soft light feel to it. So as their eyes are glowing, it's almost like using a what do you call those, like ring lights?
Ring light.
Yeah, big ring lights.
Yeah.
But
or a giant octobox.
A really giant octobox. But it's another way of utilizing your window light in order to make great photos. So here we go, guys. I'm gonna get down about here, see if I can get a focus mark. I have a focus mark, and all you guys have to do is every time I click, just something slightly different. That's all. But keep your eyes on the camera. Let me get a check on this where I am. All right. I am actually doing quite well. I want to actually pull my ISO down. I'm still at 1/160 and f4. I want to pull my ISO down just a little bit from where it was, and the number is going to be about, there we go. All right, here we go. This is going to make for a really nice portrait. And Carl, be aware of that hand. Yeah, that's great, great. Lindsay, not that I'm telling you against the hand, but when I have the hands balled like that,
Okay.
it doesn't flatter as much as a soft hand.
More like this?
Yeah, more
Yeah,
soft
there you go.
hand, absolutely. That's great.
Robert, you got him about 6 feet from you. Is that, you need to be that far away?
I don't, now I'm photographing mostly part, 3/4 of their body.
Okay.
All right, now I'm gonna go in and get a little tighter because what they're doing with their faces, it's really pretty. It's really, really pretty. So,
In terms of the light though, do they need to be that far away from the window?
no, they don't have to be that far away. They can be as close as you can be next to the window and comfortable enough with your lens choice. So, I mean, if you have a 200mm lens, obviously this is not going to work. They're going to need to be
across the
further.
room.
They're going to be further away, and the further they are away from the light, the light becomes more of a point source and not a broad source like we have right now. And this is really, really pretty. Just a few more. Now I'm going to go in really, really tight. So you gotta, both of you guys, find a way to get one over the other. In fact, one shoulder back behind. Yeah, that's great. Wonderful. That's wonderful. Nice, 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 nice. Oh, absolutely. Lindsay, absolutely. Corey, you're wonderful. All right. And guys, I want to tell you, that was wonderful for me. I hope it was good for you. And we're going to call that a wrap. Yay!
Very nice.
You
Very
can unmute
nice.
yourselves now.
Yes. Yeah, that was good.
Yep,
So
very
we'll
good.
come
We actually
back
had the two different cameras that were videotaping too. Not just Jim walking around with it, but you had a stationary one. That was good.
Yeah, it was a multi-camera setup. Lots of cameras, lots of microphones.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we've got, if we come back at 8 o'clock, have your questions ready. We can take a break now.
All right. Thank you.
Jim, did you look at all at the new Fuji camera, or are you basically gonna wait for the new T5?
No, I'm gonna get the XH2S. In fact,
You
I'm-
are,
What?
you are gonna get the new camera that it just came out with.
Yeah, it ships it starts shipping in about 2 weeks, and I think I'm gonna pre-order it this week.
Because it seemed like me from the reviews I read, it was more, they made compromises to give it better video quality at the
And
expense of still.
That's what I'm getting it for, is a video camera.
Oh, okay.
That's the reason I'm getting it, is for video. Yeah, that one is more geared toward the video end, and then the other one with the bigger sensor is going to come out a little bit later in the year, the other version of it.
I was surprised that they got rid of the dedicated dials.
And for what I understand why they did it for that model, with where they're going with that model.
Seemed like the thing that made Fuji spectacular, they decided to get rid of. But yeah, I get what you're saying. If you're looking for video, that maybe makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that going with that particular design in a video centric camera does make sense. But yeah, I've looked it over, and you know, like I say, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pre-order it this week to be my new primary video camera.
It's interesting that you find it. I mean, there's a lot of video cameras out there, and the fact that you set up for a Fuji for your video camera is interesting to me, because you could pick a lot of other cameras to
Yeah,
do that.
I'm invested in all the lenses.
Oh, yeah, right.
But Jim, I have a question. I mean, the video that you just showed us was very good. I mean, is there a particular reason that you're adding another video camera? Because apparently the one you used was pretty good.
Because it's better.
Okay.
In a lot of ways. No, it's got it has a whole different stabilization system in it. It's a lot faster. It can record in some different codecs than I can record in now. It has an unlimited record time. It uses some different technology, and it's got it has a 14.2 stops of dynamic range in video.
I came in a little late. Which camera are you referring to?
Pardon me?
I came in a little late here to the conversation. Which camera are you referring to?
Oh, Brian was asking about the new Fuji that they're going to start shipping in about 2 weeks, the XH2S.
Nice.
And so I'm pretty sure I'm going to go ahead and pre-order it this week.
Robert, it looked like you had a new backdrop.
Yeah, yeah. It's in there and it's out of there. It was in there that day and it's gone. It's gone the next day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't like it?
No, it was borrowed.
Oh.
Borrowed for the video.
Well, it looked nice, even though you're coming up that little window that has the panes in it.
The window that has the panes in it?
Yeah, it looked like it was behind there.
Oh, yeah, it was covered up just so we can shoot the long way, so we can get more cameras in to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the reason why the other one was covered up. And the other one has a frame in it that has lines, and I didn't want to show those lines.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good for the backlighting silhouette portion.
So based on your current knowledge, how long are you gonna stay at the studio?
My current exit time right now is December.
It's good to hear because I thought you were like gone out of it completely.
Nah, not yet. Every time I think I'm leaving, somebody signs up for another class.
Well, hey, Robert, in December, we can have the Christmas party at the studio and make everybody bring something downstairs.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
You know?
And originally you had said it was going to be in July anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be July. It's gonna be at the end of July originally.
So it sounds like you have a flexible landlord.
Well, I hadn't told the landlord yet.
Oh, he never knew you planned to leave. Oh, that's interesting.
No, my lease is up in July. So I don't, you don't go telling somebody, telegraphing something when things are changing, because they will rent the place out in 2 seconds.
You have neighbors there now?
Yeah, I have neighbors, but they're doing poorly.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing way worse than me.
Is the restaurant open now?
Yeah, the restaurant is open, and
What is
it's more like a general garden and a general restaurant, more not like any kind of specialty.
So a family.
Family, yes, absolutely, family restaurant. Not and
anything.
And it's not. I visited there twice, and I was not impressed.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. So. Yep, that's the story of a lovely lady who had 3 lovely kids of her own. They were 4 men all together, and they were all alone. And then the one day when the lady met this fellow, they
Why does it sound like the Brady Bunch?
I was going to say the very same thing. That's exactly what I thought.
I
Jim,
started
guess
humming
what
the
I'm
theme
having for
song.
dinner?
Yeah. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Hey, Jim.
I get these thoughts in my head, and they just keep going.
Jim, guess what I'm having for dinner?
What?
Mushrooms.
Leftovers.
Say again?
Leftovers from Saturday.
Oh, okay. Oh,
I
yeah.
have enough for 1 meal.
Seafood boil.
Yep.
Where'd you get the seafood boil?
She made it.
Oh,
Yeah,
she
we
made it. Okay.
We made it at the condo.
I will say something about where I am right now. The places, the restaurants I've gone to here in the valley, the seafood has been excellent.
Oh,
Where you at?
And
Visalia.
outside of Fresno, and what's the name of the place?
Visalia.
Visalia, California.
Oh.
They got good farmers markets out there too.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Where did you go? Where did you go to eat?
I don't know, but the people keep taking me places, and I eat, and it's good.
There's a really good Italian restaurant called Rosa's right off the 198.
Roses, yeah, we passed by. In fact, we were going to go there last night, but we didn't.
Oh, it's really good. Really good Italian.
Yeah. I know exactly where you're talking about, of 198. In fact, I'm about 2 exits down from there.
What was the name of that restaurant?
Rosa.
You should try that gourmet burger place, McDonald's.
I did try it a while back, but the one I tried was it was like regular. It was the one in Tampa.
Well, they're much better on the West Coast.
I was surprised when I landed there. They have one here. In fact, they have. I've seen a couple. They must have franchised.
You think? You really think that stuff would catch on?
I'm not sure.
That's surprising.
Okay, so I have a question.
All right.
Does anybody have a question about what we just saw?
Well,
I've got a question.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
Karen. Yeah.
What's the best time of day to do that, to do like window light photography?
Well, I'll kind of sidetrack on that and tell you it depends on what compass direction your window faces.
Okay.
So to get the softest light, you want the window, if it's morning, you want a west facing window opposite the sun. If it's evening, you want an east facing window. Okay. Anytime during the day, a north facing window will work for you. Most of the day, a south facing window is not what you want. Does that help you?
What about cloudy days versus the bright sunny days?
A cloudy day, you're good with a window any direction, any time of day.
Now,
I have a,
Somebody was saying they had a question.
Jack.
I have a question.
Yeah, okay, Jack.
And that is there any advantage to having, or when is there an advantage to having a window light versus a studio?
Window light is a poor man's big softbox.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So it's just when there's not a softbox available, you've always got the sunlight and vice
yeah.
versa.
If you have a window that does not have direct sunlight in the window, then you've got a great big softbox.
Okay.
Yeah, without actually having to own a softbox and a light to put in the softbox.
So if the light coming through the window is too harsh, is there something that can be done? Like the curtains, the sheer curtains?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, if you've got direct sunlight, if you've got an east facing window in the morning, or a south facing window, during most of the day, you're probably going to have some direct sunlight coming in. And, you could, depending on what you're doing, work artistically with that light, of course. But if you want to make it more forgiving and give yourself some more angles to work with, and some more options, as far as what you can do with the model in the camera position, then yeah, you'd want to put some curtains in it or whatever, and soften it up. Because basically what Robert had set up there was shining a couple continuous lights through that and hitting the curtain. And basically, it was almost emulating, a direct sunlight situation, as opposed to an open sky situation, which is, really, what window light, when people are working with window light for portraiture, they really do like to, have a window opposite the sun and get bounce off the back of the sky. That's why, when portrait photographers, look to rent studios, they're looking for studios with a north facing window.
Hey, Jim, I have another question. Concerning this upcoming assignment. Does this have to be portraitures or can it be inanimate objects or what?
It's portraiture. It's window light portraiture in black and white.
And I have another question about that, Jim.
Now, as far as your question is your question basically human versus animal? Is that your question?
That was to Jim Hagan.
Oh, no, I was just, any other thing besides a person is what I was talking about.
Okay, no, this is not still life, this is not still life or macro or anything like that by window light. It is portraiture.
Got it.
But
Got it.
in the
And it's black
it
and
said
white.
it didn't
The
have,
assignment is specifically black and white.
All right.
but on our page, it says it doesn't have to be human.
Right. It could be, could be an animal, could be your dog, could be a cat, whatever, but it's still, it's still going to be a portrait.
I have a question. most of these window lit portraits are both the subject and the photographer inside. Using- Hey. Hello.
Yeah, but that was Jack.
Okay, and my question is it possible or is it cheating to, instead of the photographer being on the inside, being on the outside and shooting in through a window to somebody sitting on the inside of the window?
No,
They call
because
it-
the person sitting inside the window is still being lit by window light. There's
Yes.
nothing in this assignment that has anything to do with specifying where the photographer needs to be located. As long
Okay.
as your subject is a portrait lit by window light,
Yep.
you can be outside that window. I see no problem with that.
I mean, I'm thinking of something like an automobile window or maybe the window of a restaurant as opposed to the traditional window sitting in your living room or something like that.
You're thinking outside the window.
Yes,
like
and boy, do I need some Windex.
Karen had something. Karen, go ahead.
Robert, I noticed that you didn't concern yourself with the hair, the flyaways. Is that because
Yes.
you do all that in post-processing or?
I generally do that in post-processing, yes.
Okay.
I'm going to pull up my screen and show you just what I'm talking about in just a few minutes here as far as the edit parts of it.
Okay.
So you'll see just what I'm talking about as far as what I do to take care of that.
Okay.
I'm sorry. One of the things that I noticed that when you're about halfway through this video is that you switched your lens hood over. Were you getting glare or something? Is that the reason?
No, I just noticed that my lens hood was turned the wrong way. So
I have another question for you, Robert. During that part, the segment of the video, and by the way, the video was terrific learning experience for us. I congratulate you and the videographer. But now, that when you were shooting directly into the window, were you just shooting silhouettes? Because I never saw the pictures. What you obtained, were they silhouettes?
Actually, there were
silhouettes. You gotta see. I think there was one up that he did, but I'll show you another one.
Yeah,
Okay.
there were two photos that did come up during that portion. You may not have realized that.
I must have
there
blinked.
was a cut to it, that there was cuts to still photos.
Okay.
Throughout the whole video, Robert gave me 6 still photos to insert in the whole video, so I spaced them out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was supposed to give you 8, but somehow 2 didn't transfer.
All we were seeing in the video was silhouettes, but I assume you were
in the backlight, in the first part of the backlighting. That's what it was. It was intended to show you how to shoot a silhouette.
Gotcha.
And Jack, there's one on the webpage.
Okay.
On our webpage, there's one.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I share my screen, Jim?
Go for it.
Okay. And let's see. I'm on a Windows machine, so please forgive me.
Ooh.
So you
went
mean
to
this
the
is gonna
dark side,
work?
huh?
Yeah.
So this will work, right?
That I'm not sure if it'll work completely, but I'm gonna give it a shot. Okay, here we go. Are you able to see the screen?
I got you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So let's take a look at one of the silhouettes. And I think this one came up. Now this one didn't come up, but this is a version of that that was shot that I was supposed to submit to Jim, but I did not, and it got left behind. So there you go.
Got it.
And so there's one of the silhouettes, and I think this next one is a same version of that you saw, but a tighter version of the first one was a tighter version. But
And then we had, let me go back to the letter G. It was mentioned that I think this is the one you did see.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
included in the video.
Yeah. And then you
And
saw
that was
that one as
included in the
well.
video.
Yeah. So let me go back to G. And then there was this one was also included. It's when we filled in the light.
How did you get that, you say?
This is when you're backlit, and then I filled it in, and instead of using the exposure of the curtains, I use the exposure of the subject. And I mentioned something about having a glow.
Okay.
And this was when you saw in the video that the big white bounce card was behind Robert. He was standing in front of a big white bounce card that was reflecting.
Oh, okay. So he was using both
light back onto the models.
So he was using both a bounce card and focusing on the models themselves.
Yeah, he was exposing for the models, letting the window itself become totally overexposed.
Right.
And and using the bounced light from the big white bounce card, as the light on the subject's faces.
Right.
I was kind of curious when using the big bounce card like that. Were you concerned at all being that you being in front of it might cast shadows or anything?
No,
won't happen.
No. And again, the same one with the two of them, where I'm using a window as part of the framing. So
nice. Yeah.
And then I think the other one I was saying about the window, the window light. The last one. Let me open. Now that I saw that exposure on yours. I mean, on the final image. I did want to open up that one because I'd use it on a different monitor. So I'm going to open up the exposure just a little bit there. Yeah, and in order to express those eyes.
Yeah, so and is this Victoria, where you were talking about for a shot like this, where Robert was standing in the window, that you're worried about he would be casting a shadow?
I just wonder if that was a concern when you were shooting, that it might do something like that.
With a light source that big, it wraps around so much, it comes in so much around from the sides that it effectively eliminates the possibility of Robert casting a shadow the closer he is to the window. Now, of course, if he got right up in front of the models, that's a different story. But as the photographer, if you stand back by the light source like that, the light source will wrap around you and you will not cast a shadow onto the models. And now, if you separate yourself from the window and move up closer to the models, then you have more of an issue of that being a concern, what you're asking about, Victoria.
Okay. And I noticed in one of those things at the beginning, I can't remember what the position was, but it seemed like certain ways that they were standing, that it seemed like they cast more shadows, like under their eyes, kind of thing. Is there like, you need to have, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it just seemed like one of them, I don't think you took the picture, but you repositioned them because the light seemed to be casting shadows under their eyes.
Well, it's just a matter of where you position the person. If your light is coming from the top down and they're turned out away from the light, then you're going to see more shadows. But I think one part of it early in the video, I had them turn toward the light and lift their heads up a little bit, and then you see less of the shadows.
Okay. I just remember when you had them positioned differently, and it made a big difference. So.
Yes, and I think I mentioned something about bringing in fill cards.
Yeah.
Let me give you a little bit of a backstory here. When I lived in Atlanta, and I was just starting out off of as a photographer, and I wanted to be known and noticed. I wanted to get some people. Salesmen used to come by the house all the time, and they're trying to sell you stuff. So what I would do is I would agree to your pitch. You would come in and let me photograph you against the window. And again, the window light for me. And I was able to get some really nice portraits out of the people. And after sitting there for a while, and then me telling them turn left, turn right, up and down, and they were still doing their pitch. It got to be a point where they were more interested in the photographs and than what they were selling. So there you go.
So who sold who what?
Yeah.
I was doing this. I was doing the selling.
You're a good salesman.
So, but yeah, and people, and I got people to come back. In fact, I got 2 people. I would always give them a photograph. Told them if they come back, I would give them a photograph. I never bought anything, but I always gave them a photograph.
Yeah.
Robert, a question. I was pleasantly surprised to see that with an aperture of f4, that there's considerable depth of field. It wasn't as shallow as I might have thought it would be. Did the lighting have an effect on that, or what? Or is that?
Well,
maybe I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm not seeing it as clearly on my monitor.
No, you're saying that the people are very, very close to the window, and the background is not that far away. The background is soft if you look at it, but it's not. I mean, it's like a couple of feet away from them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm shooting at f4 and not 2.8 or 1.4. If I was shooting at 1.4, all of this would be very, very soft within this area right here. But at f4, now you're going to get a little bit of depth.
And also, it's a wider angle lens. If you see the focal length on there, it's 39 millimeters, and it's at 4.5. If Robert were using, say an 80 millimeter lens or 100 millimeter lens, then yeah, that depth of field would be much shallower.
Got it. Thank you.
But you go to a wider angle lens, and that depth of field starts increasing instead of diminishing.
Can I ask a question here?
Yeah, sure.
So I've got a nice window, and the room that I use as a bathroom with a lot of blue on the walls. And I find that color cast becomes kind of a thing if I'm shooting for a color processing. Can you talk a little bit about how you think about white balance when you're doing something that is not black and white with window light? And
yeah, I see, because you've got an issue where you've got basically 2 colors of light source. Your window light is daylight, but then your fill light is blue.
Right. Can you talk about how you because I'm shooting without like a lot of options for what I choose, so I kind of want to hear a little bit about how you
the actual professional photographer way to do it is to get a roll of blue film and cover your window with blue film, and then all your light is the same color, and then it's easy to white balance. That's the professional photographer way to do it.
When you say blue film, what?
It's called a CTB.
CTB
color
film.
Temperature blue.
CTB film. You can buy it in rolls on Amazon.
How about the easy way to do it?
The poor man's way.
Yeah.
Select the area you want and then change the color temperature.
Okay.
Yeah, then you just have to deal with it in local adjustments in post-processing if you're not going to change the light source to match the color in the room.
What about the background in this particular photo? You got that white sheet or whatever that was with those lines in it. I mean, can we just change the f-stop and maybe adjust it down to a 1.4, 1.8 or something and blur that out, or?
You're talking about the lines in this photograph?
Yes.
Yeah, those lines were included intentionally on my part to show you that I was getting texture there. Jim was asking about my exposure, and I said I exposed down to gray. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about that because I want to make sure that I do have texture in it, and then from there, from that texture, I can actually make it a lot brighter if I wanted to. It's not hard to do, but on this particular photograph, what I wanted to do before I go further, it was backed about hair. You see this hair right back here?
Yep.
Yes.
All of that hair. I think, let me see if I did this right. G in there. Yes. Okay. This is right. Now I took that. Maybe it was Karen that asked about it, but
It was.
Here is that same image, and the hair is gone because I didn't want it to be about that hair.
Okay.
All right. And in Photoshop, you can take this hair and you can take it down even further. But I thought that didn't bother me as much as it did back here. Now back at Jim Hagen's, this is something that can easily be done now if I just take a select subject portion of it, and let's see if it can detect it. And if it doesn't detect it, it's okay. I'll still do it. Refining results. 1 moment, please. All right, it's detected the subject. Now from that particular mask, I'll invert the mask, hitting the invert button, and simply bring the exposure up. And I can even blur it out by reducing the texture and reducing the clarity. And there you go.
I don't know what you did.
You don't know what I did?
Well, I see what you did, but I don't know what you're doing with the subject. I think you're trying to do something with her hair in the back.
No,
there.
he's taking the texture out of the curtains.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Jim Hagen said that he didn't want to see the lines. And I was saying in the video that I exposed down to a gray and then bring everything back up to a value.
Gotcha.
Well, I was more concerned about the composition and whether or not, the background is, part of a photograph, and how much should we be concerned about a particular background? We can add texture to it or do whatever without being called altered reality or something. But
in this case right here, this is as far as the texture, I thought you were referring to the actual texture of the curtains.
I was.
And there's nothing that's altered in this photograph at all.
No, but for the ones we're going to turn in, I mean, does it matter about the background?
That's an artistic choice on your part as a photographer.
Yeah, that becomes on you.
I just let you know if you like it or not.
Am I going to like it?
I said you'll let us know then if you like it or not.
Well, you remember when it comes to this particular club, this is not about us liking or disliking. It's whether or not your images have the impact or the intent that you wanted it to have. Oftentimes when images are turned in, they're turned in and with the hopes of saying, hey, this is a good image or this is a bad image. But that's not necessarily the way we critique it, in a sense. We critique it based on, first of all, did you meet the assignment, the impact of what it is you're putting up, and your intent?
I think it needs more attention.
Oh, if it needs more attention, then what we're going to do is...
Good one, Jim. Good one.
This is what we're going to do then. There's your attention. There you go.
Oh, yes.
So, but anyway, let's go back to G. That's what we're dealing with on this end of things.
Well, hey, Robert, I have a silly question. The samples that you've shown us right here, right now.
Yeah.
would those be considered window lit photography?
Every one of them.
As Jim
Yeah.
pointed out, there's no windows in that room.
Yeah,
Well-
but the one was created
Okay.
for the purpose. Every time you look at a movie set or a television commercial, there are really no windows that they're shooting out of. It's all
Really?
created.
Wait, you mean TV is lying to me?
Yeah, it's created illusion. And the one I think it was me who came up with this design and notion about how I have in photography and how it corporate of getting a really good not having to worry about look. And this is purely about exposure and
Okay.
let me do something here. Shirt tails. I don't know how, one of the things about Zoom is I don't know how to get back to the Zoom window after I did what I did. Okay, there you go. There's my deal. So I'll stop sharing on that part. All right. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the images, Robert.
Yeah. Yeah, that was part of my plan.
Wow. Wait a minute. I mean, this stuff is planned.
You know what? I am not gonna let I'm not gonna let Jim and where's the Astro guy? Where did he leave? Barry?
Oh, he's here. He's here.
Barry, I'm not gonna let those guys show me up. And so Jim made a great video by himself. Barry did a great presentation. So what I did was I made sure that Jim Sykes was there to make sure that the video I did was okay.
It was
great.
Yeah, that was completely unrehearsed, unscripted, and done in one take.
And the fact you did it in one take is amazing.
And as you could see, there was no stage blocking. There was just a couple cameras set up, and I just kind of ran around and filmed it on the fly as it happened and stuck it together.
So there were some shots where we saw you filming with the camera. Who was operating the camera that was filming you?
That was a stationary camera that I was directing Lynn to at various times hit record and stop recording on a stationary camera, and I was directing Lynn to push the button on it.
Okay.
You did a nice job editing it too, and the breaking in and out kind of thing with the portraits and going. Yeah, very good.
I'm concerned about whether or not this passed the muster, because if Richard Edwards doesn't say it passed the muster, it didn't pass the muster.
Oh, it passed the muster. I have a question for you. I have a question for you. As you did with the salespeople who showed up at your door, did you promise the young models, that you would supply them with their own photographs to use in their own portfolios, or did you actually pay them?
Always give talent the results of the shoot, even if I screw up.
Well, didn't you?
And,
did you pay them also, though? Didn't we
Yes.
pay them? The club paid them?
we did pay the models, yes.
Okay.
And the reason why we paid the models, we wanted to make sure they showed up.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question about your window light setup?
Sure.
See, I think there were a couple shots of the video where you could see that the light was positioned above the at the top of the drapes, blinds, or whatever.
Mhm.
Yes, they were. Yes, the lights were positioned high. You are correct.
Now, what would be the effect of moving the position of like the main source of light, right? Like if you put it center below, like at the center of the model, like how would that affect? I mean, obviously it would affect the shape of the light and all that stuff, but can you talk a little bit about how you might, whether or not, I guess, what would be the impact of doing that, and how would that change like the mood of your shot?
Can I jump in and answer on
Sure,
that?
Jim.
One thing to remember when you put a modifier in front of a light, in this case, the curtains top to bottom, the actual lights themselves do not become your light source. The modifier becomes your light source, and that's what you have to realize here, is then that the light source was top to bottom and all around the sides of the models. The light source was not the lights you saw behind. The light source on the models is the modifier. Whenever you use a modifier, your modifier becomes your light source, not the light behind the modifier.
So if the second part of that becomes, why were the lights up high and why were they not down low, is generally we're simulating where the light is in a natural light situation. If you're talking about sunset, then the lights, then the sun would be a lot lower and much more direct in there. But once it hits that modifier, as Jim was mentioning,
once it hits the curtain, it doesn't matter much.
And it sort of spreads the light no matter where it's coming from.
If you did not have the curtain, it would make a huge difference.
Oh my goodness.
Because then the position of the lights counts for everything. But once you pull the curtains in front of it, the curtains become the modifier. They spread and diffuse the light. And now you have a diffused light source that is bringing the light in from every direction around the models, low, high, and around the sides. That's the point of it, is to create light wrapping around the model from all directions, as opposed to the position of the light giving you light from one direction.
So if we're doing so if I've got more than one source of light to do like a jury rigged window like that, I could have multiple lights generated to, and it would not really have a substantial impact.
It would make it the things brighter.
Yeah, the point with more lights is to have more intensity of light, to brighten the light. Be able to lower your ISO if you wanted, give you a higher aperture number if you wanted. Bringing in more lights gives you a higher value of light, but it won't necessarily change what's going on as far as direction of light with your subject if all those lights are going through a modifier like that.
Okay, and then how would you used a V card? How would you? So if you had a smaller modifier as a V card, would you then probably position that one higher to bounce the light down? Like how would you use? So I have like a 5 foot tall one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm imagining if I tried to do something similar, I would probably need to hang that higher to get the same effect then as that V card, or
that
like
in itself, just because of its size, also becomes a broad light source. And it becomes, and the bigger that card is, the less important the directionality of it becomes. As it gets smaller and smaller, if you shrink down to, getting like a, like a 36-inch diameter, 5-in-1, unfoldable reflector or something like that, then it becomes more and more important about, your positioning and your angle. But the larger that bounce reflector becomes, the less critical your angle becomes, because it becomes in itself a wraparound light source, just at less intensity than the key light source, which is the window.
Thank you.
Now, this sort of thing, we brought in two very attractive ladies and such, but this light works on anybody, regardless of age, size, whatever. And it's just one of those things that it gives, it takes out that part about a good light. And now you have to work toward getting a good story. So what a lot of times what you'll have is you'll have beautiful light and you'll have a static person, a subject. So the idea is to bring out character in your subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, part of what Robert is saying is when you have a window light, it's because it's so multi-directional, it takes out the thinking and the worry on your part about positioning of lights and angle of light and all that. You have a broad light source. It takes one of the difficult parts out of the equation and lets you concentrate on, on your interaction with your subject without worrying about placement and direction of lights, other than if you want to have that, a fill light going on.
So if you were working with, say, like small children or an infant or something like that, where you might have fewer choices in posing and so forth, what sort of considerations would you then have on the top of your mind in that situation? Like, say your friend's infant that they want to put in a, in some sort of basket or wherever you put small children. Like, how would that change your thinking in this? Would that just be with that, how you use your bounce light then?
As far as using a bounce light is only it's a fill. You're just filling in the shadows, and shadows are not bad. You just don't want them to have them so dark and deep.
Yeah.
But when it comes to children,
Robert, we can't hear your video or your audio.
My audio just went out.
No,
Yeah,
I
it's
hear
good
him.
there.
He's
hear
good on
it.
my end.
Oh,
I hear him fine.
okay.
All right, but it went out on my end, I reckon. That's all right.
That's because you're a Marine,
Yeah.
and I'm a lazy Air Force guy.
You guys are all Marines and Air Force? Oh, God. Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
Be careful, be careful.
Oh, that's fine. As long as nobody's in the Navy.
Nah.
Hey, I'm in the Navy. Watch out.
Yeah, Navy.
There's Navy people?
Yeah.
Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, the military guys are talking, and I guess later when we get outside of military conversations, the Navy can join in.
That's about right.
Well, what I'm getting at is whether you're photographing a baby or you're photographing an adult, the idea is that you are getting a fairly easy light in order to make an image. Now, if you're talking commercially when photographing a baby in a basket or any of those other things for clients, meaning that you're photographing specifically for someone, then you're going to need to bring in artificial light and the likes in order to ensure that you're going to get the results that you want, the meaning that you're able to control it. So,
because you're going to have to make artistic choices about shadows or no shadows and what's going to happen there, and then you're going to have to control that once you've made the artistic choice about what you want.
Thank you.
Sylvia, what do you think?
I'm overwhelmed.
Tell me how and why.
Well, I mean, the video was very much helpful. I just don't know. I haven't ever, well, we're using natural light. So when you all are talking about fill light, you're talking about putting a card or a white background, not another light.
Correct.
Because we're supposed to strictly use the natural light, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kept saying fill light, and I'm like, oh, okay. Okay.
And you could use a small reflector, if somebody, if you have somebody to help you that can hold a small reflector back there or a stand.
All round, yeah.
You can, there's no, we're not, Robert's, was demonstrating best case scenario, which is a great big giant, white card, but not everybody is going to be able to use that as an option, but you have lots of other options, to work with.
Right.
So I don't want you to be overwhelmed because Jan says it's okay. She says everything is working well, and she's got it.
She's got it covered. Good.
This is all brand new information for me, Robert. I've never done anything like this at all. So, but the video was great. I mean, I could follow what you guys were doing. So, and of course, this follow-up questions has been really helpful too. But this is all brand new stuff for me. So I'm a bit overwhelmed too.
I think it's going to be an interesting competition next month.
Exhibition.
Exhibition, I'm sorry.
I'm
Not a
gonna share
competitor,
my
I'm an
screen.
exhibitionist. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna share my screen one more time.
Yeah.
But I just want to give you just a thought here, and let's see if I can pull this forward.
Just remember, Jim, you're no longer a competitor. Now you're an exhibitionist.
Yes, I
Yes. and he's looking through windows now from the outside. It makes him a voyeur. Okay. You're looking at this photograph.
Up in jail.
Yeah, we are. Let's see, letter G, and let's go down to.
Brought to you by the letter G.
Which is your grid. So we have this color photograph. Just to point out what I did. I encourage you to, if you shoot in the raw file format, to set your cameras to, as far as a profile, set your cameras to monochrome and only shoot, again, in raw file format, but your camera's standard is set to monochrome so that when you look through the viewfinder, you see black and white. And I point that out because you'll begin to see the highlights and shadows at that point when you're shooting in monochrome. And if you're going to do this portrait like that, you'll begin to see where the light and dark, where they separate. And what am I mentioning here? I'm mentioning that my values from here to here, that looks like it's not separating that much. So when you're shooting, when you see that, that's how you'll know you'll need a car. When you see this light and dark between your background not separating. So when it looks more like that, that's when you need a fill card. Is that making any sense?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, now, where do you place the fill card? If that is your question, then that's a great question. You don't place the fill card. I don't know if you can see my cursor going up and down.
Yeah.
You do not place the fill card at the hair. You place the fill card in front of your subject and then point it back towards your toward your subject. So the fill card is not at their side, but in front of them, because the light is going to come across, hit your fill card, and then turn back and light your subject. That making any sense?
Yeah.
Yes. So you're not placing it back here because what's happening is the light is coming across your subject, hitting the hair, the face, and then it's now blocked on the opposite side. But if I place it in front here, if I place that fill card slightly in front of the face and turn it back toward the face, the light will come across, hit the fill card, and then bounce right back into your subject. So that's what I want you to see.
Yeah, I'm going to give you one other option for that. You could, if the face was turned slightly toward the window and you wanted to create separation from the hair in the background, you could move the card back behind instead of in front, let the light bounce into the back of the hair and create separation between hair and background by bouncing the light into the back of the hair.
Do you ever use multiple bounce cords?
You
Oh,
absolutely
sure.
could.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you betcha.
Yeah.
Red Ryder.
You know, the great thing about being a photographer is that there's no photography police.
All right, a simple way to hold that card. If you're working solo as a photographer, what's a simple way to get that? I guess any way you can. Is that the answer?
Well, I'll give you this. Do you have a tripod?
Yes.
All right, I want you to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy those little V clamps.
I have them already.
Yeah, the A
Then
clamps.
clamp it.
A clamps, yep.
That's it? Just clamp it
That's
onto the tripod.
That's it.
Good.
If you have a light stand, I tell people that light stands and cards are way more important than buying extra lights.
Yeah.
So.
And And the one of the points about an actual V flat, because it's hinged like a V, it just stands on the floor on its own, because you just, hinge it at, as long as it's not at a 180-degree angle where it's going to fall over, as long as you have it hinged to some angle like a V shape, then it stands on its own on the floor. You don't need that. That's one of the points of a V card. But if you have something smaller and not hinged, you don't have a V card, you just have a flat card, like Robert was saying, use an A clamp, clamp it to a light stand, clamp it to a tripod, but put a chair behind it, lean it against a chair, clamp it to the back of a chair, take a dining room table chair, use an A clamp, clamp it to the back of a chair, duct tape, all kinds of ways you can MacGyver a reflector.
So I've looked at V cards before and I haven't spent a ton of time on it, but price point wise for a V card like that, or like a large one, what's a reasonable amount, I guess, cost wise?
I'm going to give you a very, very simple deal. Have you ever been to Home Depot or Lowe's and seen those insulation boards? They're very light, foamy boards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And some duct tape. They're silver on one side and white on the other.
Yep.
You take those two and you put them together and put some duct tape on it. It'll cost you, and I know this exactly. It'll cost you $13 total for the two 4x8s plus the duct tape.
My garage right now here at the house, in my studio is full of 4x8 sheets and all kinds of smaller pieces that have been cut up with a razor knife.
So that's a cheap way to go.
In fact, when the tree guys today were grinding my stump, and I have 3 French doors that are all glass in my backyard, and they were worried about the chips breaking the glass, I went in my garage and got my Home Depot V flats out and stuck them over my doors and protected them from the chips.
Follow-up question. Well, thanks, not a follow-up, but garages. So obviously a garage opening up is a pretty substantial light source.
Absolutely.
Comments on using your garage to do that? Considerations?
I wish I could think of his name off the top of my head, but one of Hollywood's most famous headshot photographers shoots in his garage with his door rolled up. He's got a garage that faces north, and he rolls up the door and puts people on a stool in front of a backdrop in his garage and shoots all his famous Hollywood headshots in his garage. He's doing just that.
All right, I see that we're losing everybody, so I think we're about to conclude on this one. If there are no further questions, I look forward to seeing everybody's tackling this assignment. Please do not duck from this. Please.
Hey, Jim, was that Jerry Guionis?
Not sure if. No, I don't think it was him. There's another guy that he photographs actors. He
moved to Arizona, yeah, but he's
actors,
a little bigger.
And he uses his garage.
Oh, Jenny, me on it.
Thank you, everyone.
So that's
Thanks,
it. Make sure you
guys.
tackle
Thank you.
It's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent video.
I heard you,
Appreciate
Robert,
it.
for making the video.
Excellent presentation.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Robert. Thank you.
Very
Jenny.
good.
Good night.
Thank you, Alan.
Bye-bye.
Good night now.
So I guess I have one more question.
Sure.
Using a black V card to kill light.
Yeah.
What are some of the considerations you do when you're doing that? I mean, is it just you just use it to kill light to create shadows and shapes, or how does that kind of impact your choices?
If you're talking, you're talking about, depends on how you're talking about using it. I mean, you can use it as a flag or a gobo to block light from falling on something, or you can use it, as they call, subtractive in place of where you would put in a V flat, where it actually will, instead of filling in, will make the areas that would normally be filled in darker.
So you
I'm
mentioned,
not sure which way you're talking about using it.
well, I'm trying to ask it pretty open. I'm trying to phrase my question in an open-ended way to kind of hear your thoughts in general, but I noticed you were talking about placing your V card to reflect light in front of your subject.
Yes.
And so that got me thinking, okay, if you're putting it in front of your subject to add light, what are some of
Okay. In my neighborhood, a lot of the people are large people. It comes from the way we eat. We eat a lot of, like greasy stuff is not good for us. So there are a lot of large people, and a black card would subtract the light, which would slim the person down visually. So it would make it a little darker, and then you return the face toward the light, and as far as the light filling in on the opposite side, it would be darker, which would then give this that slimming look.
So another question. So I had a photography project where I was trying to do really high contrast shots, and one of my friends, she's black, and so I asked her to pose because I wanted to use like the really high contrast between white window light and skin color, right? And so we haven't really talked about how skin color can affect the choices that we make when posing certain subjects. And I was interested to hear if you guys had any thoughts on how that might change your choices, similar to like how glasses might change your choices and how you have people turn their heads and stuff like that to reduce glare. Can you talk a little bit about what considerations you might make, if any?
Well, let me say something about the skin color and glasses. One, glasses are man-made. Skin color is,
Right.
That's now when it comes to skin color, exposure is exposure is exposure. If you were to photograph, let's say, a white shirt and a black shirt in the same scene,
yeah,
how would you expose for that scene? You'd expose in order to get the white detail in the white and detail in the black. So your camera doesn't know that there's a person in front of it.
Right.
All it knows is exposure.
So like when I use flash, for example, one of the ways that it was explained to me to avoid really dynamic issues is to compress the amount of difference between like skin color, right? So I'm not sure how to explain this completely because I don't have a lot of experience in it, but they talked about thinking about how dynamic highlights can be affected on skin. So it sounds like that's not really a consideration for, large window light because it's so round and a big source of light. So I'm just
window light's very forgiving that way. The smaller your light source gets, and the further the light source gets from your subject, the more you're going to have those issues with the dynamic range on the skin. Now, especially if you're talking about where you have wet skin, oily skin, shiny skin, it doesn't have to do with skin color. It has to do with reflectivity of the skin. Is where you're going to have those lighting issues, and that's where makeup is your friend.
So one example is my cousin is married to a black man and she's very pale. And so when I have taken some pictures of the two of them, it became a bit of a challenge to kind of adjust for that very different range. And I'm curious how you might change posing in that situation. I'm thinking of a situation where I was using flash and I didn't have a lot of control of the room, but from a posing perspective, are there things you might choose with who to put nearer to, say, your light source, or or things like that? Or is it just kind of,
Okay.
am I concerned about something that
Got
doesn't?
you. Yes, and if you have a small directional light source, then yeah, to help you out, you probably want the darker skinned person closer to the light and the lighter skinned person further from the light, not the other way around.
But not as much of a concern with the large window light then?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because it gets into a very deep, technical discussion about light fall off, zones of light fall off with dynamic range, and the larger the light source, the larger the range you have before it falls off. The smaller the light source, the smaller that range before it falls off, and you get much more. You get much more of a shift in dynamic range with the smaller light source versus the larger light source, where everything, where you could keep everything within basically the same f-stop worth of exposure, versus the smaller light source where things start falling within different f-stop values of exposure.
Okay. So not
That's
as
a
much.
that's a deep dive topic.
Well, I've been not really happy with some of the photos I've taken of Sophie and Xavier. And so, but yeah, that's what had me thinking about it. Cause I found that I either blew out her skin or Xavier, was tougher.
Tom, let me give you just a little bit of help with that.
Yeah.
I'm going to be presumptuous here, okay? It's like I don't want to make Xavier's skin too dark and offend him, and I'm okay with the other person. I can bring the value down, but Xavier, I'm really worried about offending him if I make it too dark.
Well, I want a picture they like, right?
Say again.
I want a picture they like, right?
Right.
So
now
that's what I
here's the thing, and that's where, okay, I'm getting into a psychological deal.
Yeah.
The idea is not to give them a picture they like, but to give them a picture you like. And in order to give them a picture you like, you're gonna have to photograph them or someone like them until you are happy with the way it's lit, posed, and the look of it.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't matter if it's Xavier and whomever, that in any situation you photograph, the idea is to have really good light, great exposure, and something that you are proud of, not something that they are proud of. Because I will tell you this, and I'm speaking because I've done 1 billion portraits. No one likes their image until 5 years later when they've changed. And
Right.
then they look back and go, wow, man, I was young and I was pretty and I was this and I was that. So you have to be happy with it first.
Okay.
And do more of it. And where are you located?
We've talked about this in South Tampa, Port Tampa.
You're in South Tampa. Come by the studio and practice on some of this stuff. I'm more than willing to help in any way I can.
Okay.
That's what this club is about.
Cool, hopeful.
And Valerie, if you want to fly over to Tampa, come on. You're more than welcome.
It'd be easier to fly over to Visalia than it would be to Tampa.
And bring your cat with you.
My cat, I know. She's always in the middle of the picture.
Anyway, we can be helpful. A lot of times what you could do is, if you're setting up a Zoom session and you let's say you don't want to come to the studio, Valerie, in that case, you can always set up a Zoom session and then we can walk you through it.
Yeah, I'm pretty new on how to use my camera. I've had a camera in my hand since I was 12, but I basically look at a shot and just shoot it. I'm not, I don't mess much with the camera. I've never had anybody to teach me how to use the camera properly. Most of my stuff is I just shoot it, and if it comes out, it comes out. It doesn't, it does. It's like the picture that's behind me. You can see I shot that over in Germany, and some of them are just absolutely gorgeous, and other ones just, just don't work. So